Hi, it's Daniel from John Buys Bay Area Houses. We hear from homeowners every day who need to sell fast, whether it's a life change, a problem property, or they just can't wait around.
When I inherited my grandmother's house, it felt like too much to handle.
Being a landlord was draining me. All those constant repairs and tenant issues.
At John Buys Bay Area Houses, we make selling your house simple. Sell as is without any fees, commissions, or hassles. Call 510-800-JOHN or visit our website and you'll get a fair cash offer in minutes.
I sold Grandma's house and finally felt free.
They handled all the property headaches, and I could finally relax.
Start fresh. Don't let your house hold you back. Call 510-800-JOHN or search online for John Buys Bay Area Houses to get your cash offer today. That's 510-800-JOHN.
Start fresh with John Buys Bay Area Houses.
Brews and Banter.
Hello, Frank.
Hey, Roman, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have a new guest here today.
Some local guests, yeah.
Absolutely. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Vicki Frylew. I live here in Baldwinsville, and I serve on the board of directors of the Baldwinsville Center for the Arts.
Okay.
And I'm Steve McMahon. I'm the historian for the town of Van Buren, and I'm active in a number of local history organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. I know, is it first time podcasting for both of you?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's
So now we got to start with this. For
super
sure.
easy then.
Take the ice off.
Let's do it. Cheers.
The edge off.
And
Cheers.
Cheers.
what we're drinking today is our sponsor for this episode, Roaring 20s. And they are located in New Lebanon, New York. There are a brewery and a tap house out of an old school which is built in the 1880s. Whether you're hanging out in the cozy indoor tap room or enjoying this spacious outdoor lawn, it's perfect spot for relax, sip, and soak in the good vibes. They're brewing incredible craft beers on site, including their crispy, refreshing Mexican lager, which is and very popular. We are the only ones who still have it on tap.
We just found that out today.
They ran out. It was very popular.
Because it's very crispy and refreshing.
It is. Plus, there's always something happening. Food truck, live music, and community events that bring people together. So next time you're in the area, stop by at Roaring 20s Brewery and Tap House and enjoy a nice cold beer. And thank you very much for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.
So let's kind of dive into why you guys are here. There's an event coming up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an anniversary.
Bicentennial of the Erie Canal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So let's first talk about where the event is going to be and give us a little details on that, and we can then jump into a history. Does that order sound?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'll tell you sort of how this got started. The Buffalo Maritime Center is organizing this whole thing. And what they're doing is recreating the trip that Governor DeWitt Clinton took when they opened the Erie Canal in 1825. So he started on a boat called the Seneca Chief and went from Buffalo and went all through the canal and ended up in New York City. So they've built a replica boat, and it's called the Erie Canal Boat Seneca Chief. Mm-hmm. And it's a museum, basically. So at every port, they're stopping at 28 ports along the way, and they actually launch tomorrow. The voyage starts tomorrow. At every port, they will stop and do a program, a little celebration, and then open up the boat / museum to tours for the public.
Is that the one in Syracuse, the museum?
This is the Buffalo Maritime Center.
Yeah, you're talking about the Erie Canal Museum?
Yeah.
But this is going to originate in Buffalo and take it.
I see.
So the boat is a museum of the Erie Canal.
I see.
So they contacted the Chamber of Commerce and the library about 18 months ago and said, this is what we're doing. Baldwinsville is one of the stops. We're coming. If you'd like to do something, that'd be great.
Wow, look at that. Advance
awesome.
notice from someone.
Yeah.
How about that?
So the Chamber of Commerce and the library assembled a few people to get things going and started putting together what the event would be. So the boat arrives in Baldwinsville on Friday, October 3rd. It's scheduled to arrive at 5 o'clock at Paper Mill Island. Mm-hmm. So we're having a celebration. It's from 4:30 to 7:30. We'll have food trucks. Lots of community organizations will have tents, tables set up with information about what they're doing. Some historical stuff will be there. Historical stuff, that's a technical term. The small group from the high school band will be there to play a little bit. It conflicts. They have a football game that night, but they want to be a part of it if they can. So, just a lot of fun things happening. It's free, family friendly, and we hope the community will come out and be a part of it.
Absolutely.
How big is the boat?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Oh, I know the answer to this.
You do?
You probably built it.
I did not. I'm guessing it's probably 70 feet long.
70 feet long.
Let me see. I think.
So it's a floating. So it's functional boat. And it's a museum.
It's a replica packet boat from
Right.
what you would have seen on the Erie Canal, the original Erie Canal.
Sort of a low flat boat.
Interesting.
Kind of long, yeah.
So, and the crew that is going to be operating the boat, are they part of the employees of the museum? Like, did they give
I believe
tours?
so, yes. I mean, this has been a big comprehensive program they've been putting together for a while. Actually, on their website, on their Facebook page, probably their website too, Buffalo Maritime Center, there's a whole history of it. We've been sharing it on our Facebook page as well, the building of the boat and why they're doing it.
73 feet.
Ah, I was wrong.
No,
Very close,
I was
very
off by
close.
3 feet.
40 tons. Yeah.
We'll include the website so people can check out the information.
Yeah. So a lot of people probably don't understand. I mean, this goes everywhere, all over the world, right? So a lot of people don't really understand the impact and the importance of the Erie Canal locally, but more than locally to us. But so that's what we can talk about with Steve. But,
Sure.
As far as the October 3rd event, is there anything else that you'd like to discuss as far as what's happening there? Any other?
Well, I would like to acknowledge all of the groups that are a part of this. Sure. As I mentioned, Baldwinsville Public Library, the Greater Baldwinsville Chamber of Commerce, the Baldwinsville Center for the Arts, the museum at Shacksboro Schoolhouse. Syracuse Boat Tours has worked extensively with the crew to plan the logistics and where to meet, because they'll be picking up dignitaries at a meeting point. We'll have some people ride in on the boat and arrive at Paper Mill Island. So there's just a lot of moving parts to this. So we appreciate their expertise in that. The Baldwinsville Lions Club, the Central School District, Beeville DPW has done a lot on the logistics of the event, making sure they have the crew has everything they need at the site on Paper Mill Island. The Women's Garden Club of Baldwinsville Rotary, the Village is hosting us, which we're very appreciative of. PAC-B TV is a part of it. They'll be there filming the event. The Beecham Historical Club, which Steve is a part of. Anchorage Smokehouse. We don't have a lot of businesses acknowledged here, but they are providing free dinner for the crew the night after this is all happened. So we wanted to make sure that they got acknowledged for that. Friends of the Library, the Baldwinsville Kiwanis Club, and of course Buffalo Maritime Center for making this all happen. So,
and I think importantly, there'll be tours of the boat. Now, it's going to be here for a limited time, and darkness will fall not too long after they get here.
So they get here at 5. The program will start about 5:15, and the sun sets at 6:42. So we are on a very quick schedule. But we'll have, there are lights on the island. The tents will have some lights, so hopefully people can hang around and enjoy themselves for a while.
And what a unique opportunity. I mean, really. It's going to be another 200 years before you have the second bicentennial, which is, I don't know what it's even called. Double bicentennial?
Vicky's already planning on that event.
Quadricentennial? I have no idea.
Well, then you'd have new white pine trees or 200-year-old white pine trees along the way.
Yeah.
All right, so
we didn't talk about the trip.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah, so there are a couple of very symbolic things that they'll be doing along the way. So one of the things Governor Clinton did on the first voyage was he gathered water at every stop and they put it in a barrel. And then when they got to New York, they dumped that water into the ocean. So it's called the wetting of the waters. So they're going to do that again with a little bit of a twist. Our mayor, Bruce Stebbins, is going to have the honor of using a ladle to dip the water out of Baldwinsville and dump it in the barrel. They are also planting a white pine tree at every stop along the way. And this is a tribute to the Haudenosaunee people who were, Steve will address this, were really displaced by the building of the Erie Canal. So it's a way to celebrate them, acknowledge them, and acknowledge, I'm going to have to refer to my notes here so I get it exactly right.
Yeah.
Honor their enduring connection to the land and reinforcing a shared commitment to sustainability. Mm-hmm. So when they get to New York and they plant the tree, they will take the barrel of water they've collected along the way, and instead of dumping it in the ocean, they'll water the tree with it.
Oh, nice.
It's really a beautiful thing they're doing.
And do you know how many stops there are, you said?
28.
Okay, sure.
20. So from Buffalo to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And over what period of time?
They start tomorrow. I'm not sure. They'll be here October 3rd. I'm not sure what the final date is, but, a stop.
It's still going to be a few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, basically a stop every day. And I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but that's phenomenal.
I was going to say.
Talking about the White Pines and the wedding of the waters. And,
there was something else I was going to move on to from there, but I'll come.
Frank's fault.
Yeah.
So
chime in anytime with that.
Yeah. So let's dive into a little bit of a history, how important Erie Canal to those who are listening and maybe not familiar with it. So if you could give us a little background on that to those who are listening for the first time regarding Erie Canal, how important it is to the country, to the state, and then we'll go from there. And if you remember that, what you were going to say, just mention it.
I mean, you can't overstate the importance of the Erie Canal, not just to upstate New York State, the country, the world. Mm-hmm. A lot of people refer to it as the internet of its day. It did completely transform how people traded and how people settled. And the West, and at the time the West was really Western New York and Ohio, was completely unsettled. And so the Erie Canal opened that up both to settlement and also to goods. And so as goods were flowing east, settlers were flowing west. And it just enriched, it really jump-started the economy. We'd gone through one of our many recessions, and it really jump-started the economy and did a lot for the people. There are some, I'd like to dispel a few myths. The canal that runs through Baldwinsville is not the Erie Canal. I know I'll probably get cards and letters, but it's the Barge Canal.
Right.
Okay, and so there really were three canals. The one that this celebrates is the original Erie Canal, and it was started in 1817 and completed in 1825. They did the middle section first, from Montezuma on the west to Rome on the east, because they didn't have the money to do the whole canal. You can imagine, it was, Thomas Jefferson called it madness at the time when it was first proposed in 1800, because nobody thought it could be done. Digging a ditch from basically Buffalo through the Niagara Escarpment all the way down to New York City. So it was really quite an accomplishment and took quite a while to complete. But the middle section was actually completed in 1819. So they finished the middle section, and then there was pressure to finish either end, right? So you could go from one end to the other. But I think what's important to remember is that was the original Erie Canal, completed in 1825 in three sections, each completed at different times. Then there was an enlargement in the 1840s. The original canal was 40 feet wide and 4 feet deep. Well, it became so popular as a means of transportation, it reduced the cost to transport goods and people over 100 times. Wow. So it was basically 1/100th the cost and time to move people and products from one end of the state to the other. Mm-hmm. And so they tried to enlarge it in the 1840s to 70 feet and 7 feet deep. And that's the Erie Canal that you could see today if you try to travel the trail through places like Jordan and Canton and Camillus. And it was a total boon to the economy and did great things. But it did lose out to the railroads. 1848, they built all these railroads as feeders to the canal to move goods to the canal. And then they consolidated and formed the New York Central Railroad and completely obliterated the effectiveness of the Erie Canal. So what the Erie Canal did to stagecoaches and other forms of land transport, the Erie Canal the railroads did to the Erie Canal. And then the railroads had somewhat of a monopoly in the late 1800s. And so New York State, under Teddy Roosevelt, decided, he didn't like monopolies, wanted to kind of bust the railroads because they were raising rates and killing freight. And so that's when the Barge Canal was dug. And the Barge Canal actually followed the course of the water down the Mohawk River, the Seneca River, and then picked up the old Erie Canal west of Montezuma. So you really have three canals: the original, completed in 1825, the enlargement in 1840s. That's the one you can walk and bike south of here. And then the Barge Canal didn't come through here. It was completed in 1918. Lock 24 in Beeville was the first one opened in 1910.
And that's the barge canal.
Correct.
I see. So that's where they're going to stop at Paper Mill Island.
Yes.
So the Seneca Chief is actually traveling the 1918 barge canal with an 1825 boat.
Right.
So it's a little anachronistic, but it's still to recognize that. I guess the other point I want to make, it's critically important. I mean, one of the things that I researched the most is the first reform era of America. All the important movements, the progressive movements of the early 1800s, women's suffrage, abolition, spiritualism, revivalism, utopianism, all these things that really created massive, massive social change in New York State and beyond, all happened within just a close proximity to the original Erie Canal. And you can understand why, because people could suddenly travel up and down the canal, and all these ideas and movements spread. So things like the Oneida community and the Mormon Church and the Millerites, and like I said, women's suffrage, Seneca Falls, abolition in Peterborough, all these things really were driven by the ability of the Erie Canal. It facilitated the transport of ideas and movements. And so, in my opinion, while it was economically important, that ceased when the railroads took hold in the mid-1800s. These ideas and movements continued on and really fuel a lot of the progressive movements that we have today. So I think that's the real, lasting legacy of the Erie Canal in my mind is not the transportation and the commerce, but the progressive movements that it inspired and really drove.
And continue to inspire.
And continue to do so.
Yep.
Absolutely. So that's kind of what I think is most important about it. I guess the other thing I'll say, and I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I'm very passionate about local
absolutely.
history. And that is that the Erie Canal wasn't especially kind to Baldwinsville. It was transformative for New York State and much of the known United States at the time, all the way through Ohio and the Great Lakes states. They connected them. But it bypassed Baldwinsville. DeWitt Clinton and his crew, the canal commissioners, originally came through Baldwinsville in 1810 in the summer and visited Jonas Baldwin and his family. At that time, Baldwin already had a dam, he had a canal, and he had locks. They were the only one. They were the furthest, the westernmost canal and locks in the United States at the time. And based on my research, Baldwin kind of thought the canal was going to form or follow the course that the barge canal follows today, down the Seneca River, through Baldwinsville, and out west. And if it had, Baldwinsville would be basically the size and prominence of Syracuse and Rochester and Utica today.
Oh, really?
Completely bypassed. And in fact, the Seneca River and the Baldwin Canal weren't even connected to the Erie Canal until 1849. So you had 20 years, 30 years really, where getting through the Baldwin Canal and around the dam and the locks in Baldwinsville didn't necessarily get you to the Erie Canal. So you still had to find another way to get there, either through wagon or whatever, and head south toward Canton, now Memphis, Jordan, Camillus, Newport, whatever.
Go ahead.
Do
you know why? Is there any historical facts about why it didn't follow?
Yes, I mean
reasons.
Yes, the mechanics of the canal, the way it works is by forcing water into the canal because it actually slopes down from Lockport to the Jordan level, which basically runs from Jordan all the way over to Rome, and then has to flow up again. So you had to keep it full and you had to keep the water moving. If you tried to do that with natural waterways, you'd have all these tributaries flowing in. It would be impossible for boat traffic to make it and to keep it flowing in the right direction. So all these locks, as you had changes in elevation, both up and down, were able to keep the water flowing. And so really a waterway wasn't feasible.
Okay.
I hope that wasn't too much information.
No. That was going to be my question. What was the reason for the delay to connect? But I also like some numbers. Like, can I ask some statistics? Like,
I'll try.
So we're going to geek out over the whole thing for sure.
Yeah,
this we're both into as well.
As you're talking, my brain is turning, and it's just like, do we know how long the whole canal is? All three sections?
50 miles, I want to say, but I could be totally wrong.
And do you know what the budget was originally for the canal?
The budget was $5 million, and they went over it by $2.5 million to $7 million. But they recouped that in the first few years in tolls. It was amazingly profitable.
Yeah, because of the savings in transportation.
I'm shocked only 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I mean,
I kayak some of the canal.
It's not that deep.
No.
Well, that's the 7-foot one. The other thing they did was, I told you there's an original canal from 1825, which followed the contours of the glacial drumlins all along, because that way they only had to build the northern wall of the canal. The southern wall was really the embankment created by the drumlin. Yeah. But the thing looked like a corkscrew. It wasn't very straight. So in the 1840s, they deepened it to 7 feet, widened it to 70 feet, but most important, they straightened it. And that's why it looks straight today. And they shaved 12 miles off of it. And by doing that, the average packet boat could make one extra trip each season, which was hugely profitable for the packet boat owner-operators.
Do you know what was the most popular product that was traded at the time?
It was basic things. I mean, Rochester's known as the Flour City, or was, Flour,
right.
Because it had grain mills, and all these grains would come from the Great Lakes and were processed in Rochester. Grain, salt,
Syracuse, yeah.
Absolutely. Stone was a really important commodity because you had to build buildings and it wasn't available everywhere. They used either limestone or granite, and that didn't come from every place. And then, produce and things like that. It's interesting, though, passenger traffic was about 5% of the original Erie Canal. You had these packet boats stuffed with people traveling the canal either to resettle or for leisure purposes. That was wiped out by the railroads. As soon as the railroad, the New York Central Network opened in 1848, that was gone. And then it became all commerce after that.
Do you think part of the railroad boom is due to like the monopoly in steel companies? They were pushing that?
I don't know, but at the time, leading up into the late 1800s, there were monopolies in everything. We didn't have antitrust laws.
Right.
And so you had monopolies in oil, steel, railroads, shipping, just about everything. And that's, Teddy Roosevelt was a trust buster, and he broke up a lot of that. And that was part of the reason for the barge canal, as I mentioned, was the railroads had a chokehold on all the producers, and their rates kept going up and up and up, and there was no alternative. And so that's why the barge canal was put through. But by the time the barge canal was put through, as a check to the railroads, you already had interstate transportation by truck. Right. So it was short. The barge canal was not profitable and was quite short-lived.
And from the East Coast, did the Erie Canal contribute to the workers for the railroads to transport the workers going west as the railroads expanded?
They must have. There was really no other easy way to get there.
Because there were a lot of foreigners that also were hired to work on railroads. Yes. Both from west side coming in and from the east side, from Europe and Asia, correct?
Yes. But what rescued Baldwinsville, we were known as a mill town. When I was a kid, there were many mills operating here. Mercer Mill, which is now the Red Mill, which has been repurposed a few times, is the oldest standing building in Baldwinsville.
And it was barely that for a while.
How old?
I remember growing up, it was just sticks and there was no walls. I was like, this is not going to last.
Well, when I was growing up, that's where I used to buy, food for my guinea pig because they still were milling things.
How old?
1827.
1827.
And the basic infrastructure of the building still stands today.
Original foundation?
Absolutely.
Wow, granite, I bet. Big granite stones.
Yeah, probably. But it was a grist mill, and it was built by Stephen Baldwin, who was Jonas Baldwin, our founder's son.
Because that's only, that the way it is now in its current state has only been like that for 20 years.
I don't know the answer to that question. It was an active mill through the year 2000 at least, and then it became an inn, and now I think it's like a senior living facility or something like that.
It is.
But the basic skeleton is still the same.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Boston, and my background is construction and real estate. And their homes, they're building, early 1800s and even older. And when I go into those houses and I look at the foundation, it's these giant granite stones that are just set in place, and they're not moving anywhere.
No.
It's just solid. So I'm curious to kind of go through that mill at someday, get an opportunity to check out. I love the architecture.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is a historic building. There are a few others that are pretty old, like Village Hall is very old. But that's the oldest.
Where's Village Hall?
Where the police station is now.
Okay, yeah.
Not the new one, but the old building, yeah.
So I I'm obviously not from Baldwinsville. I moved here in 2007, as we talked about this, from Massachusetts. But I've noticed there are some homes in central Baldwinsville that have garages and barns size of the home. Is it because of farming? Like, or were these farm homes before and they just used the equipment to store them there?
Garages and barns next to the house?
Yeah, like they're
In the
not even
village?
attached. Yeah.
Well, that's because they were stables for the animals. That's where they kept the animals.
Oh, okay, not farming equipment.
No, not in the village.
Not in the
Okay.
The village was really the stomping ground for merchants, lawyers, doctors, primarily the more well-to-do and the commercial class. The farmers lived outside the village limits.
Because we're only 12 or 15 square miles,
I don't know.
something like that. The size of Baldwinsville, is that what the number was?
I don't remember the
Yeah,
size.
yeah.
Where the police station is now, I think 1 or 2 doors down, they've remodeled the house. And they have a giant barn in the back. Maybe that's what it was used for, stables, for animals. But then I've driven around and I've noticed other homes that have barns the size of a house that's detached. And I just thought maybe before all the development, this was more agricultural and they just, these were farm homes. This is where they parked their equipment and then they would go out and tend the fields.
It could be because the village border boundary expanded. So if you look at places like the Battery Terrace, there was nothing west of that. So any homes that would be the larger homes on the Sunset Tract or west of there would have
To Soane's Way.
Yeah, they would have been adjacent to farms.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, one of the largest farms in the area was the home that's at the end of Parkway. Help me out. Near to Sounds, whatever street that is.
And Dexter Parkway?
Dexter Parkway.
Yeah,
Yeah, that house is very, very old.
Right in the corner?
Yeah, and was owned by an original settler.
What kind of effect did Erie Canal do to the Native Americans here?
It wasn't good. Not much of what we did was good. But by that time, most of them, there was something called the Sullivan Campaign in the late 1700s that unfortunately pushed most Haudenosaunee people west. The history of New York State, like most of the country, is this continuous process of trying to move Native peoples out of areas that had intrinsic value to Western Europeans that were living here, either because they had minerals or was farmland. I mean, the classic example is the Black Hills of South Dakota. Right. That was a sacred ground for the Sioux. I may be wrong, and was guaranteed to them in perpetuity until we discovered gold.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they were unfortunately relegated to very small spaces in New York State. I'm not a Haudenosaunee authority, but they were relegated to small spaces in New York State long prior to the development of the Erie Canal. The Erie Canal kind of was the final nail in the coffin, but it took place some 30 to 50 years prior.
Was there a huge Indian population in Baldwinsville before Baldwin settled it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just so you know, before Baldwin put his dam in where the dam is now, for about 12 miles from Baldwinsville to Jack's Reef were intermittent rapids. And until probably 100 years ago, there was a visible eel weir in the river, probably right where the marina is now, because it was very shallow, and you had to portage through much of that. You couldn't get boats over it until he built his dam. And there was active fishing. There were two Indian villages, two Haudenosaunee villages right across from each other, and it's where Indian Springs got its name. But there's really nothing to market on the north side of the river, right below Indian Springs, between there and Route 370, and then on the south side of the river on the old Kriego farm, both of them just east of 690, thriving Indian or Haudenosaunee communities. Yeah, I live out in Cross Lake now, and I was just doing some research. They were given Cross Lake as late as the 1790s, and they went to the state and said, "Look, there's a guy living out here, and he's fishing the lake, and the lake belongs to us." And the state was like, "Well, kick him out, get rid of him. It's your territory." And they said, "Yeah, but we feel bad for the guy because we don't think he's going to make it through the winter, so we want to help him out." In many cases, the Haudenosaunee went out of their way to help early settlers survive. and were not repaid
That's
very well
right.
for their
Yeah,
kindnesses.
it wasn't reciprocal for
What
sure.
was the relationship like between Baldwin and Native Americans here?
Very healthy.
Very healthy?
Very healthy. There was something called the Year Without a Summer. It affected the whole world. A volcano erupted. I want to say Java, maybe
But it
someplace.
was Indonesia.
Yes, Indonesia. Thank you. And it created, it spewed ash into the air, and we had no growing season in North America for at least a year. And at that time, it was 1816. It was before the canal, and people were starving. The Haudenosaunee were starving. Settlers were starving. And Jonas Baldwin, I think you've heard of probably the Female Charitable Society.
Yes.
It's right over on River Street.
Yep.
It loans out equipment for the elderly and indigent.
Is that what Marianne's part of?
I
Yes.
think so.
She's on
yes.
the board.
Yes.
It's the longest running female charitable organization in the country, I think.
I think it's one of the oldest nonprofits, period,
Yes.
in the country.
That's
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
But they got their
Started
start
in
because in 1816, a bunch of people got together, including Jonas Baldwin, and decided to stockpile supplies and fed the Haudenosaunee. And that's why his son, Harvey Baldwin, who was the first mayor of Syracuse, was adopted into the Eel tribe of the Haudenosaunee as one of their own. We're lucky because, stop me if I'm going too long. We're lucky because there was a local historian who was an ethnologist, botanist, archaeologist, and the single greatest European expert on Haudenosaunee language, culture, lore, life, William Beecham, that our club's named after. And he was the rector up at the Grace Episcopal Church,
Okay.
or Presbyterian Church, one of those. But he was a local historian, and he made it his life's mission to interpret a lot of Haudenosaunee lore and stories and language and everything. And he too was adopted into their tribe because he really honored them by kind of publicizing and glorifying all of their great accomplishments.
Yeah, respect is important.
Right. So between Jonas Baldwin, who died in 1827, and William Beecham, who died in 1925, Baldwinsville has a very strong connection to the Haudenosaunee community that I think most people don't realize, and we probably need to honor.
Yeah. I sorry, Frank. I feel it changes my. There's like a fly. So.
Came out of your beard.
I feel good knowing that part of the history that Baldwin had this good relationship with
Or at least a little better, right?
native,
Yeah.
better, because like you said, they worked with settlers and wanted to help them and not treat them like just kick them out. They took care of them, and the fact that they had a good relationship with Baldwin, I feel better.
Yeah. Well, there's enough to go around. I mean, there's enough room for everybody, and it's free to be nice and to care, because there's a lot of that not happening in this world now.
Right.
Do you know the relationship at the time between the Onondaga and I don't want to mispronounce Haudenosaunee?
Yeah.
What was their relationship between them?
I might want to come back another time. I am not an expert on it. I've read a lot of Beecham's writings. Their relationship between the Haudenosaunee and whom?
The Onondaga.
The Onondaga tribe.
The Onondaga are part of the Haudenosaunee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
I
Haudenosaunee is just
misunderstood.
the native term for the Iroquois.
Oh, okay.
Iroquois was a label put on them by their enemies, the Algonquins, who lived in Canada, who hated the Haudenosaunee and called them Iroquois, and literally it means snake eaters, which is not a compliment. And so they no longer choose to be known as Iroquois. That was not their given name. It was what someone called them.
I see.
Someone may call in and say, look, he's got it all wrong. But they're really not referred to as Iroquois anymore. And the Haudenosaunee represent multiple tribes, the Onondaga, the Oneida, the Seneca, the Cayuga. Think of the Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
Each tribe had its own stomping ground, and many of them inhabited the Finger Lakes area.
Yeah.
Very fertile ground for growing crops. You might.
Yeah, there was a time my wife and I were driving out west. I think Ohio, and we were talking about the Native American tribes and the relationships between them. And I told her, I said, I'd like to learn more about the Native American tribes in New York. And I wasn't sure if that's something that you can come back another time and talk about, or you can recommend somebody who knows more about it and we can invite them to talk?
I would recommend a Haudenosaunee person.
Okay.
Because I think they alone are probably best at articulating what their history would and what their relative relationship would be with Western Europeans who settled the area. I just, as a personally, not professionally, 'cause I'm not a professional historian. I'm not a trained historian. I sold soft drinks, so you know.
Well, to bring the whole thing back to the Erie Canal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in general, Western Europeans were a little off topic, but forced the Haudenosaunee and other native tribes throughout New England and all around to choose sides. And so if you go back far enough, this whole land was constantly, you had different groups warring over them, whether it was the French, who, formed an alliance with Native Americans in the Northeast to fight the British and Americans, or the British co-opting them during the American Revolution. There's a whole history of, and I don't want to make them sound naive, but of Haudenosaunee and other Indian tribes negotiating, creating peace, and working with Western Europeans, and they get
Basically, taken advantage of.
They get shafted.
Yeah.
Because their whole philosophy of life is completely different from what ours was at the time. I'll leave it at that.
It all makes sense. And,
I think we should find someone to talk about that because I'm really curious more about the local Native Americans and different tribes and their relationships. But regarding Erie Canal, you also wrote a book, right? Do you want to talk more about the book?
I don't want to shill for it, but
No, please.
It was self-published. I only did 100 copies. When we went to celebrate the Erie Canal in the town of Van Buren, the town supervisor, Wendy Vanderwater, said, "Let's," and Jenny Sullivan, who's a counselor, said, "We have to do something. It runs right through the town of Van Buren. It forms the southern border with the town of Elveridge and town of Camillus." And so we said, let's create a celebration in Memphis, which used to be known as Canton, which was a canal town, didn't exist before the canal came through. That's the other thing. When the canal came through, Syracuse was nothing. It was a crossroads. It was dwarfed by Baldwinsville and many other towns. As soon as the canal came through, it exploded. So that's why the canal is called the mother of cities. But we had an event there in July, and I said that I would write like a pamphlet, and it ended up being like a 80-page book. So, but that's really on the influence of the early Erie Canal on that little hamlet and what it did to that hamlet and for that hamlet. And since that time, I wrote a paper for the Erie Canal Museum, and it's on the effect of the Erie Canal on Baldwinsville and the Baldwin Canal. And that's what I've been drawing from.
So they have the copy of the paper you sent?
The paper's not available yet because they plan to put them into an anthology, and I'm not allowed to publish it yet until they determine its disposition.
I see. And you're going to be there October 3rd, obviously.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that event. Definitely going to bring my son over there, and he loves history, especially anything around like World War II and anything to do with planes. He just loves it. So when we travel, we always go to museums and, just visit all the historic sites. And so I'm glad that he has that interest. So it would be really fun for him to come to this event on October 3rd. And that's on Paper Mill Island starts 4:30?
4:30 to 7:30.
4:30 to 7:30.
Or whenever it's too dark to hang around.
Yeah. Are we being kicked out?
So we again, we could talk about this on another show, hopefully. But I know there's a lot of history in Beeville. We talk about the organization. Mary Ann's part of the Women's Society there. But wasn't the church here the first one to get electricity in the country?
Episcopal Church.
Yeah, the Episcopal Church.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird history. And then Morris Pumps was here.
Oh yeah. Morris Pumps was the largest industry in Baldwinsville for many, many years, and morphed into Gould Pumps, and then was acquired, and then moved out to Seneca Falls. But a lot of mills. I mean, you had a lot of water power here. Right. Every community has a rich history. Ours, I think, is especially rich. I mean, I've lived all over the country. I've traveled all over the world. When you've got a river running through a town like this, and it just creates, I think, the recreational opportunities, the economic opportunities, the history is just amazing. And I think we should celebrate it more as a community. There's a lot, good to be said about this community and its history, and I don't think the collective we, emphasize it enough.
I agree. Yeah.
I was telling my wife, I said, Baldwinsville reminds me of those Hallmark movies you watch with small towns, with hills and rivers. And we don't have the hills, but I told her, it's kind of like what it reminds me. It's like this cute town with a river going through it.
You fell in love here?
I fell in love. Well, no, I fell in love somewhere else. And I followed.
You brought your love.
I followed love. Right?
I left, after college and was gone 20 years and chose to come back.
Yeah.
Same with us.
And raise a family, and I've met other people that did likewise. So I think it's a really great place to raise a family or just to be and enjoy what it has to offer.
You don't hear a lot of people that have bad things to say about it. Maybe someone doesn't choose to move back, but it's not.
I do hear bad things.
Oh, you hear hatred?
Not hatred.
I'm going to hate right now.
Not hatred. But people complain about snow. Like they just.
Well,
that's not Baldwinsville. That's the weather.
I know someone whose snowblower broke, and at that point they decided to move to Florida. No joke. Their snowblower broke, and said, "All right, pack up. We're moving to Florida."
I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for 15 years.
Yeah,
and there's no difference, in my opinion, between living in Atlanta in the summer and living up here in the winter.
Yeah.
Down there, you really can't go anywhere. You have to be somewhere that's air conditioned. It still has to be climate controlled. It's really no different from up here.
There's two extremes, right?
Exactly.
You're like a vampire. Like your skin just boils when the sun hits you.
I joke about this, and some people don't like it, but I feel like living in areas where you have seasons, humans tend to adapt to different climates. So our development for survival and adaptivity is different versus when you live somewhere where it's just one climate. I'm not calling anybody dumb or anything like that. I'm just saying we have to develop
unless
our
you
brain
move because your snowblower broke.
differently because we're trying to survive different climates. That it's and I said this at a wedding and people believed me that when I said, "Oh yeah, all NASA engineers are from Northeast." They're like, really? And my wife goes, stop bullshit. And they're like, we totally believed it.
Like where you're originally from is probably a climate that's not much different than here except for the amount of snowfall.
Right.
But you get seasonal sort of.
Yes. So I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and it gets extremely hot in the summer and extremely cold in the winter, but just a little bit of snow, So there's nothing to block the cold Canadian air from coming down and hitting people. So
Syracuse has the largest plow in the country?
In the world.
World? Mm-hmm. The largest plow in the world.
The snow plow at the airport.
Really?
Oh, wow.
36 feet. Is it 36? 36 feet plow. Not like 36 inches or 3.6 feet or whatever. 36 feet. I mean, that's insane.
One person drives that?
I don't know. You steer this side, I'll steer this side.
Yeah. Well, I started enjoying, I do have to be honest, I started enjoying the winter much more when I stopped commuting and then when I retired. And
sure,
if you don't have to be somewhere.
If you can choose to drive when you want to drive, it's a lot easier.
It's way better.
Yeah, I guess what I was going with this is why I love Baldwinsville so much is the nature is so close. Living in Massachusetts, I love Boston and the city, but it wasn't as easy and convenient as it is here to just get in your car, maybe pack a few things for either backpacking or camping, and you're there in 20 minutes, half hour. You choose how far you want to go and how remote you want to be. I enjoy winter backpacking. I enjoy going hunting. I enjoy kayaking, just even kayaked Erie Canal.
Yeah.
There are some spots where I get out and walk it because it was so shallow and narrow, or I couldn't fit under the bridge. There were a couple spots where I had to get out and carry the kayak over. But it's like that kind of opportunity and the convenience and access I love it.
The geology played a huge role. So, what I like about it is we have so much natural water, whether it's lakes or rivers, and that's really what created the opportunity for the Erie Canal. There's only one pass through the Appalachian Mountains, right? And that's where the Hudson River crosses and then the Mohawk River goes west. Mm-hmm. You can go from Maine to Georgia, and there's no other pass through the mountains. That's why they chose that route for the Erie Canal. And that was created because there was a giant glacial lake, which became Lake Ontario, but which dipped all the way down here. We were underwater and created the Finger Lakes. And that's why we have so much natural water. You go to the southeast, and there are very few natural lakes. They're mostly dammed up rivers.
Yeah. This is fascinating.
If you drive on the thruway going east, you actually drive underneath the Appalachian Trail Pass.
Yes.
And then there was one year when my wife and I, a couple of friends, we went to hike part of Appalachian Trail in Maine in the wintertime, clueless of how much snow is going to be there. 3.5 miles took us 10 hours to hike. Even with snowshoes, we were like sinking in.
Those Armenians.
But like Appalachian Trail is another amazing topic to talk about, and I love that part of it as well.
I do want to plug the event. I encourage people to come to the event. I think it's going to be a great community activity for all the reasons Vicki articulated. But also, the Camillus Erie Canal Park is incredible. They have a replica store. They have replica boats. They've restored the aqueduct. It's the only place on the Erie Canal where you can actually travel across an old aqueduct, because you had lots of rivers and streams, and they had to build, a stone aqueduct with a wooden cradle inside it to get the canal boats across. Oh. And then the Erie Canal Heritage Center in Port Byron, which is accessible both by the Thruway or by Route 31. They're incredible places if you want to go. They're very interactive and very family friendly.
Mm-hmm.
The Erie Canal Museum in Syracuse, is it part of that museum that's in Buffalo?
No, it's independent.
It's independent?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has a separate board.
Okay, because you drive by, you kind of see the boat there too, on by the windows.
That's claim to fame. It's the only existing Waylock building.
Okay.
So there were, I don't know how many, 5 or 6 Waylock buildings. I'm going to get the number wrong. Throughout the course of the canal. That's how they weighed the boats to find out how much your toll had to be. And they literally would drop it on a scale and figure out, unweighed, they knew how much it weighed. I mean, unloaded, and then loaded, they would weigh it, and that was what your toll was. And they had those throughout the course of the canal. And so the original Waylock building is still there. You can go in and see the cradle where they lowered these boats onto the scales and figured out how much they had to pay. So that's its claim to fame. It's the only existing Waylock building left.
Nice. Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Vicki, did the memory come back? I
have no idea what it was.
What was lost?
I have no idea. But I did want to mention, we probably all three grew up singing the Erie Canal song. Yeah. So there are 2 versions, 15 years on the Erie Canal, 15 miles on the Erie Canal. But the interesting thing is it wasn't just New York. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and I sang it in my elementary school. Marianne Williams grew up in Cleveland, and she sang it. So kids all over the country, I learned about the Erie Canal in 1971, I guess, something like that. Never in my wildest dreams thought I'd live on the Erie Canal. But it was an important part of American history, not just New York, not just Baldwinsville. So I appreciate learning all about it from you.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for coordinating the event on the 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it. Is there a way to get a copy of the book, or?
I mean, like I said, I just printed 100 and I'm selling them to friends and people are interested. They're $15.
Yeah.
I sell them out of the trunk of my car.
Will you have them at the event?
I will have them at the event.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate you doing this, and all you're doing and all the coordination for this and the involvement for all the people you've mentioned and yourself. It's we've coordinated some things. I know it's not easy.
Yeah, I really came in just 2 or 3 months ago just to help because I can handle the social media and help with a lot of the details of that. But there's been a core group that's been working on this for 18 months and trying to envision what it should look like and working with the museum. And now here at the very end of it, we're coordinating nitty-gritty details.
It's like picking out your switch plates when you build the house. You're just down in the
who's going to pick up whom at what place and what time and coordinate all of that. But I think it's going to be a lovely event.
So for social media, is there?
We have a Facebook page. It's called Baldwinsville Celebrates the Erie Canal's Bicentennial.
That's the whole name of it? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think the shortened version is facebook.com.
We can find
Erie
it.
Canal 200, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if you do Baldwinsville Celebrates on Facebook, it'll come up. And so one thing interesting, I told you the cruise starts tomorrow. you can track the boat's progress as it goes down the canal on something called Marine Tracker, and we'll be posting this on the Facebook page. The library is going to have live tracking of it. So starting tomorrow when the boat launches, they're going to have a computer or a TV up, and you can watch the boat's progress along the way.
Are they doing any live streaming of their travel?
While on the boat?
Boats at the stops, maybe?
I don't think they'll be live streaming it, but they do. The Maritime Center and the whole cruise has their own Facebook page, so you could click on that. And I've tried to link to a lot of it to just
constant updates.
Give people some more interesting history to read about it. So you can certainly find those links on our page and see what they're doing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is exciting for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of us. I mean, we're here,
Right.
I mean, where it's going to happen is going to be, a half mile away
Yeah.
from where we're sitting and where our Mexican lager is.
Yeah.
Very good.
Which we're running low on.
Yeah. But, I would hope you guys would want to come back whenever you'd like, if you'd like, certainly for some other things with Steve. But if you've got anything else you guys are coordinating separately from this event, we'd love to have you on and talk about that as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good.
You've made this very easy. I was a podcast virgin, and I don't feel so
told
intimidated.
You. Yeah. We've had people who were nervous.
As long as you don't feel dumber, we're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes our conversations go off topic, and then we have to reel in.
But with 100% honesty, I mean, we do this and we go places and we this whole thing is mobile for us. So we will go to, see other people, other businesses and things like that. But the architecture and the history of things are really what, drives me and Roman. I mean, aside in the business life of this, we've got our own family lives that obviously that's why you live, right? But as far as this goes, it's really an outlet for us, and we appreciate you guys sharing that with us. And
yeah, it's important for both of us to give back and be part of the community here.
Oh, thank
Well, I
you.
applaud what you're doing.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, it's Daniel from John Buys Bay Area Houses. We hear from homeowners every day who need to sell fast, whether it's a life change, a problem property, or they just can't wait around.
When I inherited my grandmother's house, it felt like too much to handle.
Being a landlord was draining me. All those constant repairs and tenant issues.
At John Buys Bay Area Houses, we make selling your house simple. Sell as is without any fees, commissions, or hassles. Call 510-800-JOHN or visit our website and you'll get a fair cash offer in minutes.
I sold Grandma's house and finally felt free.
They handled all the property headaches, and I could finally relax.
Start fresh. Don't let your house hold you back. Call 510-800-JOHN or search online for John Buys Bay Area Houses to get your cash offer today. That's 510-800-JOHN.